All right, we are live, I hope.
Are we?
We should be live. Everything should be running. I don't normally run the board here, so I think everything's good.
If anything's going to go wrong, it's going to be with you, right?
I mean, of course. So our audience likes to drink when things go wrong. It's Sunday, so...
I mean, I feel like on Sunday you can drink if everything goes right. Why do you have to discriminate?
I mean, you know, you make your hurricane. Is that what you do?
Sure.
Get your Pat O'Brien's too soon?
Fair enough. I mean, chances are everything's going to go wrong today, so...
All right, well, this is another episode of Critique the Community. We have Elia Licardi all the way from the distant land of...
Florida.
Oh, Florida. You're coming from a pretty close environment these days.
Yeah.
Same time zone at the time, right?
Same time zone this time of year. Similar climate, right? We're pretty close. It's hot.
Yeah.
Very hot.
And what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? I have mostly been being a dad. My daughter just turned 2 this month. So we had a unicorn birthday party and all sorts of neighborhood activities. And I've been keeping busy. I've been doing a lot of photography-related stuff, just not really going too many places to do it. This is only the 3rd trip of the year. So
where all have you gone?
I've been to the Middle East.
Went to the Middle East?
I went to the Middle East in February. I was in Dubai and Sharjah. And I think the whole experience, I had 8 or 9 COVID tests all the way through it. Like a few just to leave, a few during there, and everything. It went really well. And then I was in Pennsylvania for a little while just seeing family. And now... somebody convinced me to come to Puerto Rico, and I'm having regrets since I left.
You're having regrets. What are you talking about? You've been upstairs swimming, and you've been...
Yeah, I've been.
You've had a good time.
Best life, I have to admit, but it is good to see you guys again.
It's good to have you here. It's good to have you here. So this critique, I don't know if we've told you anything about this.
You don't ever tell me anything about anything.
That's kind of the beauty of it all.
Sure.
This is environments and landscapes with people in them. Landscapes, there's no like environment. It's landscapes with people.
Okay.
So we have 10, maybe even 11 images that our community has submitted. Our next critique is going to be environmental portraits. So kind of similar, but the people are going to be much more prevalent in the frame, and it's probably like your hobby or your work. You know, don't just have like a beautiful girl in some crazy environment and that's an environmental portrait. I think it needs to represent a story, kind of be editorial.
Yeah, it's more like a theme. There's definitely a revolving theme around it. Like
right.
The atmosphere is part of it. The set.
Right. So you can go to the link in the description below or head over to fstoppers.com/contests. With all of these contests, we also give away some tutorials. I'd suggest you get the Elia Licardi tutorial.
What?
Or Peter Hurley if you're into that sort of thing.
Forget Peter.
Definitely not Mike Kelly's.
Definitely not Mike Kelly's.
I guess we could announce it here, but there is a new Mike Kelly tutorial that is coming out tomorrow. So if you're into architectural photography, that will be one that you can choose for the first time in this critique. Or you have 4 of them now. How many?
We do. We have Photographing the World 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I think we're on track to do a 5 at some point. We've been talking about it now for a couple years. But those 4 are still very, very solid. And I don't know, we just got a comment that my mic level is a little lower than you, Patrick, but you are technically a little louder than most people.
So I'm going to try to turn you up a little here, but
all right.
I don't want to mess up our feed when we
no,
go back to
good.
just Lee and I. So Lee talks pretty loudly. So
I'm on Lee's
all right,
side.
well, should we get into this?
Let's do it.
The first image is always the highest rated image. So this is the highest rated image from the community. Congratulations, you get to pick out a tutorial. If you look at the top screen, if you sit back, people will be able to see your face.
Oh, so, I see, and if I stop blinding myself.
So go ahead and get comfortable, and it seems like you've already got a drink. I've got one here myself.
I do.
And so this is the highest rated image from the community, and you've played this game before, right?
It's 1 to 5, 1 being...
1, 2, 3, and we throw a number, and then 1 is a snapshot. 2 is an image that needs work before it hits your portfolio. 3 is a solid image that belongs in your portfolio. 4 is an image that is outstanding.
Okay.
5 is world class. You're never going to forget it, and it's an image that will probably be in your portfolio forever.
Okay,
Maybe
cool.
An image that even defines your photography.
Right. So it would be in your top representative photos of your...
Right. So do you have an opinion on this one?
No, I'm pretty good, I think. I'm ready.
I can also zoom in here. Let me make this image full screen here.
Yeah, please do. I feel like I'm staring at giant screens and
And
can
I
use
need
them.
to go to the apple. There we go. So that's our first little mistake. People can take a drink if you're playing at home.
Throw the world's first 6 rating. That would be something.
I mean, you'd have to actually like 1, 2, 3, and then lift 2 hands to do that.
That's true. We can't do that with one hand.
The interesting thing about this critique is you are one of the most well-traveled people I know. Do you know where this location is?
Mm-hmm.
Have you been to this location?
No, I never made that. That's in Ireland, though. It's a very famous forest. I forget the name off the top of my head, but
Is this Ireland?
It's Ireland, yeah. It's Ireland, and it's a cool spot. I mean, and now it's probably relatively quiet just because of not just the restrictions, just the less frequency of tourism, but it's definitely
I see images like this, and one thing that you have done to kind of ruin my view of these images is that I see an image like this, and I think, how many people are behind the camera waiting to take this exact same type of image?
I mean, we've seen that in even recently in 2019 when we did the Moments in Time Season 1, we went to the bamboo forest, which is probably really...
You're going to have to get used to sitting back.
Famous. Oh, that's right. Oh, sorry, guys. Patrick doesn't give me
You have to
any
talk
instructions.
past me with this little lamp.
We did that. I showed that in the bamboo forest. When you see this long corridor, you think it's like an infinite, bamboo walking path, but it's not that long. And then you really do have 30 to 150 people right behind you, kind of grouped up to get that center shot. So yeah, this does happen all over the world. So, I mean, I don't know if these places are ruined, but it's not always what you see is what you get, right? Like, that's what you're saying. They're busier than you would otherwise feel that they were represented in the photo. Absolutely.
I mean, I remember going to London and doing the Abbey Road walk, and just every car is pissed off. And every person runs into the road trying to get this stupid Beatles cover walk, but there's traffic there. And that might have even been before I met you. And then, of course, we've gone to so many locations, and you're just like, wow, there's hundreds, dozens, hundreds, thousands of people.
Oh, for sure.
Anyway, we should rate this image and move on. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, 3, 2, 1. 4s?
Four, yeah.
Throw yours a little low so they can see.
Oh,
yeah, you got to get used to it.
Can I say shit?
You can say whatever you want on our
there you
show.
Go. 4, guys.
There's
4,
a reason this is on the F Stoppers Live
4,
channel.
and I mean, I think it's an amazing image. It's one of the nicer ones that I've seen from here, and the reasons that I'm going to give it that, and I'll also say why it's not a 5. Red jacket looks great. Whether the color from green was altered or was actually the fall or the light that made it golden, the red against the gold colors is perfect for color. It's very... it works really well to have the subject pop out rather than be completely reversed if you use like a blue jacket or a green jacket or blue jacket. The other thing I really like about it is the environment and the haze in the background and the light coming into the foreground. So those little rays on the right that are coming into the foreground on the lower right frame, that's all awesome. And I think that the lighting on the subject is great. Everything about this photo is great, but we've seen this place so many times that this would be one of the best or more, well, yeah, like one of the best photos I've seen from this location in a long time with a subject.
Yeah.
But it can never have that maximum portfolio value just if people who are sort of judging that portfolio have seen it before. You know what I mean?
So this is the debate that we have all the time. Do you feel like this location is that widely known by the general public or just by us photographers?
I think it's one of those things that's widely known by the general public. It's been used in Game of Thrones. We've seen this so many times, but this one takes it a little bit further. You got a low angle to the ground. We have really good texture in the foreground. It would be really cool if you added, I'm not saying post-process anymore, but like a little bit more of like low mist that kind of just hits around her feet or something. Like a
Luminar plugin?
Yeah, sure, like something, a little add some mist filter there with Luminar would work. But again, it's a beautiful image. Like this is something that would pop on Instagram. This is something that would be great on a website and print. It's just
I'm getting like Little Red Riding Hood vibes. Like this looks like I know a lot of people critique me for saying things look like album covers or look like Netflix movie poster covers, but this definitely has that kind of vibe where it's ominous. It's almost a little scary. Like it's a very positive feeling image, but it also feels like something. Maybe it's the red I just keep thinking something's going to happen to this person.
It definitely has.
Or the
Red
village,
Riding
you remember that? You
Hood.
know,
The village, or even like just the Sleepy Hollow kind of.
Sleepy Hollow. Was it Into the Woods? Wasn't that a Disney movie that had an image sort of like this with branches or something?
Yeah, it ticks all the boxes for me. I think it's a great image.
All right, we got to move along. This is from. You want to know how to pronounce that guy's name? Are you better than me?
Zinnik?
Zinnik Malik. And this was shot on a Canon 5D. This is a photo from Northern Ireland called The Dark Hedges. The idea was to create a fairy tale image in warm color tones with framing created by trees where the light at the end of the tunnel behind the person. There you go, Game of Thrones. So I think it's a really cool use of putting a person in a frame that, so many people do this just strictly as a landscape photo.
And let's be clear too, just because it's well known doesn't mean you're just automatically going to get a great shot of it. This is well executed, well thought out.
Man, I go to so many places and the images never look the way they do in the Instagram photos. I know you've experienced that
Instagrammers
too.
lie. It's okay.
Here is image number 2, and before we go further, do you just want to say the final image in this critique will also win a tutorial? We've kind of...
You didn't tell me about any of this stuff. I assume everybody wins.
That's the rules. We'll just do the rules from the last few. So congratulations to number 1, and then I think we have number 11. So when we get to the last image, you will also win a free tutorial. You can go to fstoppers.com/store to check those out. I would definitely photograph in the world. All right, here's image number 2. This was taken in another place. Do you know how to say that? This is northern Spain. Gueria? It's probably more exciting to listen to me try to explain these.
I would rather, classically, having Patrick pronounce a location is better.
Well, I'll let you read the name.
Let's just say it's a beach in northern Spain. Some nice rocks.
This is crazy. I mean, if I didn't know better, this feels like Iceland or something Nordic.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, the spires in the background kind of feel like those ones around Vic that you see, those 3 spires. All right, yeah, I'm ready. You ready?
You ready? All right. 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna go 4 as well. What did you go? 3?
Yeah, and the only reason I love it, I think that the tone of it's really cool. It's a great way. We're shooting seascapes right now with suboptimum weather. I mean, you can make this look really dramatic and ominous, right?
Yep.
But I feel like the person is just too chill for the shot.
What would you like to see him in an ideal world? If you had control over this photo shoot and you were shooting people, what would you have him do?
Something a little bit more epic, like maybe, the composition would adjust, it wouldn't be as wide, right? But like kind of standing there and looking off, like either ponderous, ominous, or curious, or like this is something you just discovered, something that's epic or dangerous. Again, a 3 means it's a solid image. It's beautifully done, executed well, but I just feel like it's a little too relaxed. I'm just kind of chilling in this epic location. It kind of breaks the mood of it for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you...
I still love it. I think this image is as exciting as the last image for me. I think the color palette's a little more subdued, unlike the last one, where you had the contrast between the landscape and the person. I know it's very easy to be like an armchair quarterback and critiquer, where you're like, oh my gosh, you should have done this. And I do like to kind of think, I like to look at these images and think what could be possible. And my mind is just screaming at me like, what if this guy was like rock climbing in this environment, where suddenly now you're like, whoa, that's kind of a unique take on just the guy sitting in an epic location. Or what if you had the ability to have, I know this takes a lot of planning and effort, and I don't even know if you can access this. Obviously they got him up there, but what if you had 3 women on there and it was kind of like this sirens thing, like from the Odyssey, or, something to where, is it Odyssey or Odysseus?
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And you made it to where it's kind of a little more conceptual.
Yeah, then that's actually kind of cool. The other thing that I always ask myself with these kind of images is, does it work without the person?
Let me go full screen on this so that people know what we're talking about here.
Yeah, does it work without the person? Would this shot still be as effective without the figure? And I'd say yes, it would. It would be just as effective without a person in the shot.
So 4, 3, let's see, this image was taken at this beach in northern Spain. I had to visit this shot repeatedly several days ago to get the tide right. Took a long exposure of the water of him. What does this say? I took a long exposure for the water and then shorter exposure for myself which I triggered by the remote. So that seems to be that the photographer is the guy in the photo.
Yeah, that's pretty cool and really clever to get your shot right, get the foreground right and everything, and then just go up there and put it in because. And then also with the remote, so you don't have to race up there in 30 seconds. That's pretty cool. Good job.
Have you ever connected a Pocket Wizard to any of your cameras and used the like wireless remote feature?
Not lately.
Okay. I mean, I used to do that a lot at weddings with remote cameras or like a photo booth and stuff. It is a really handy feature. I feel like the Pocket Wizards have kind of fallen out of flavor and out of fashion, but I like to have a few just for that one purpose.
What I do, and if it were me, what I do in this situation is shoot everything like this artist did, right? And then when I'm going to do my portrait, I get the settings right. It's going to be different. It's going to be probably higher ISO, just so I can freeze myself. And then I'll just set the interval to shoot like every 15 seconds, starting in like 30 seconds. And then I'll sit up there for a while, and I'll see the light on the front of the camera, and I'll just change positions.
And you just have it shoot indefinitely until you run back down and stop it?
Exactly, so that I know that at least one out of the however many poses I try or whatever are going to work. It also works with family portraits, especially if you have kids. Just set that thing on rapid, and eventually somebody's going to smile at some point.
I still shoot with the Nikon cameras, and I think it only lets you do... I thought it only let you do like 9 or 10 images before it just automatically cuts off. At least the camera that I have. So it's always like the first 1 or 2 you know are a failure because you're running into the frame, and then you have a few, and then you get to the end and then you run back. Very cool. So image number 3. Let's go to our next photograph. So with me having to control all of this, you have to fill in the gaps, Elia.
Yeah, so...
You got to give us a little commentary. What do you think's going on here? Oh, I didn't even notice, so I'm going to try to zoom in here. I'm doing all of this on my own. Here is the person way down there, which gives kind of this, like, abduction sort of vibe. Like, the aliens are coming.
Yeah.
I know you believe in aliens, so what do you think of this image?
I mean, even our government said, like, we don't know. Like, they didn't say no.
There was some crazy stuff over the last year where it's like all of these UFOs have been confirmed.
And I feel like with the climate of politics and COVID and everything going on, like if the government even said, yeah, you know, UFOs are real, people are like, huh, yeah, that's cool.
Show this full screen.
So yeah, this is really interesting actually.
Do you think this is real or done
well, we
in
can talk
post?
about it. Let's rate it first, and then we'll
all right, let's go.
Because I'm not going to read his comments either, so that I can kind of guess.
Okay, you ready? You gotta throw it low. 3, 2, 1. We both give it a 3. Solid image, belongs in your portfolio.
Yeah, it's cool. I think that I'd retool some of the post-processing just because that I love the idea of the character being illuminated by that, but I feel like the light ray, that main thick one, is just a little too much. It's kind of distracting.
The main one hitting the person.
Yeah, that thickest light ray on the bottom should taper out a little bit more. It should be a little bit more transparent. I feel like that effect itself is too strong. Needs to fall off more. If it's bright from the source, needs to fall off a little bit more and be a little bit less intense, more subtle, because we can already see the lights from the trees. And if this is a plugin, like a Luminar plugin, it's really easy to do. We can roll back those settings. So it's a solid concept. There's good lighting around the subject, around the feet. I like that. I like the darkening, the vignetting. It pulls it in. But I just feel like that hot spot is a little too much. You know what I mean? It's just a little too much white on the upper.
I like that we get to critique the people in this, because some of the images submitted in other critiques, it's not as... This critique is titled People in Environments, right?
Yes.
So the people are very, very important, whereas some of the critiques we have, it just happens to be a shot like this. Do you think you could do something stronger with the person? The answer probably is always yes, but if it is, what would you...
I mean, I feel like with a subject that small, well, let's back it up to the fact that it took us a second to see that there was a person in the frame. Like, we're minimalizing the person, right? So we're making the person seem small in sort of an intense emotion or an immense size or scale of something, right? So in that case, you'd want to roll back the environment or the effect in the environment so that you notice that it's about the person. So that just kind of goes to strengthen that. You're looking at a balance. So if it is the landscape and the subject has to be part of the landscape and integrated. Think back to Little Red Riding Hood. You're looking at everything and you're feeling like she's walking through. I feel like with a little bit more finesse on the editing, and some more separation of tone, you'd feel like she's standing there and feeling like she's being engulfed in this light. It feels very thoughtful. Feels like the aliens are coming.
How do you feel about, we like to crop a lot on this show. This is the full image here. Do you feel like there's not enough interesting information at the top right to where if you were to, I'm just kind of playing around with it here.
You could definitely pull it.
Do you feel like it's stronger though? Would you suggest cropping in, or do you like the full version that's on our screen here below?
I think it could crop right at that tree line, right? Like that dark
Something
tree.
similar to what I have.
It's totally possible, yeah. We can identify that it's a forest. We see the environment coming through the trees. Since it is a post-processed effect to enhance it, then it just needs to feel a little bit more subtle and filtered. Just because, as is, it's super bright in the upper right, and you can see there's a dark tree in front of it. So cropping it in, you'd want it to be even more subtle rays.
Well, this image was taken by Mike Frukowski? I was waiting for you to drink to pronounce this.
I'm sorry, Mike. An apology.
This was an image taken from their campsite, which was on top of a hill, and it was a 1-hour drive through the forest. And I'm trying to see if I can. They drove through some thick fog. I don't see if they say this is real or not.
I think that these days it doesn't really matter.
Dingo Forest.
Right.
In Australia, Dingo Forest.
Yeah, New South Wales. I've actually never been, but it looks really nice. And again, it doesn't really matter whether it's processed or not. We're just kind of looking to convey an emotion. And whether it's real or processed, it doesn't really matter to me. It's still about balancing it. Because I've been in situations where that light is just too intense anyway, and I have to do something in camera to mitigate it.
Yeah.
So to me, it's either way. It can be tooled a little bit, whether it's in the raw or post.
My thoughts just on the person thing real quick before we move on. This does feel kind of like spacey and UFO and aliens. I wonder if the person could have had a camera and like they're taking a picture, or if they were walking with their kid, walking towards the camera. Just something to kind of play down maybe the light rays and make it feel like this person is just finding the beauty and wanting to take a photo. Like I feel like sometimes the littlest props, whether it be your kid or a camera, or a dog, or just
would be great.
Something small it just adds a lot to the image where it kind of just feels like the person's just doing the most simple thing.
Or even color, a little bit of color in something that's a little bit more contrasty to the background. Right. In the
like you feel like the clothes are just kind of blending in a little
Yeah, I mean,
bit.
I wouldn't go total yellow jacket on that.
Yeah,
but
still a cool image.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
it's
this
a really
is
cool
really
image.
solid. Let's move on to the next photograph. Now this is a crazy looking waterfall. Where is this waterfall?
Is there a way to show the comments too?
Yes, I can try to. This is where I thought the other iPad would be handy to see. So the comments are going to be a little behind because people are just hearing what we just said.
Okay.
And they haven't had time to digest this image, but let's make this image full screen so everyone can enjoy this as much as we are here in the studio.
Let's do it.
Now, you were asking, hey, can I see these images beforehand?
No, I was not. You're getting the images ready and you're looking at them.
Well, right, but you were like, hey, can I see some of the images beforehand? And I was like, we should leave this as a surprise. And the reason is because I saw this image and I thought, is that your wife? Like, I was wondering, is this a snapshot that Lee took when we were in Iceland? But then I was like, we were there with a lot of snow. So it wasn't during our trip, but I was like, is there any chance this is pulled from Elia's Facebook page?
At like a little thumbnail on the top screen right there, it could be something we shot like in 2014, right? Or is it
except we were there with snow. Like this is a summertime shot.
True. But it's like that we know this location, we know approximately where they were standing. Yeah, exactly. Do we have it on screen? We do. Look at that technology, and Patrick hasn't screwed it up yet. I think I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. We're both on a 2.
Well, it's more than a snapshot, but it's definitely not a portfolio piece, right?
It depends. Like if you've just picked up a camera and you went to Iceland and you do this, I can see where like this is the coolest picture you've ever taken, and you're going to put it in your portfolio. But as you become a professional landscape travel commercial photographer that's doing environmental portraits or something, this is probably not going to last very long in your portfolio because it still kind of needs some work.
Yeah, it also kind of has the issue where the person is so far up into the upper right that they're kind of like an afterthought. They don't look like they're standing on an edge. They're just kind of close to something, where it's kind of like a landscape shot, and then let's have somebody stand in the corner rather than let's make this, wrap around this person or feel like this person belongs here. You know what I mean? And there's a sense of scale with the person, which is good, but there's no sense of danger. There's no sense of, foreboding or anything there either. It's pretty normal. Even though that location, yeah, we've been there. It's awesome. And it does feel scary. I mean, so I've seen some people stay 10 feet away from the edge. They won't even get near it.
Pretty gnarly.
Yeah, you're right.
You go to these locations and you're like, if I fall, I'm dead.
You know it. Well, you hope it happens quick.
Well, not only you might survive the fall, but then you're going to wind up in this treacherous water.
It's true. Yeah. You're gonna...
This is Thomas Herbst. Can you read that first sentence there?
Shot was actually inspired by the F-Stoppers intro or trailer to Photographing the World 1. There you go. That's what I thought you were trying to troll me here at first, because that really is what we use for the promo. Position myself so the partner would be above the horizon to convey a sense of empowerment. That's cool. While still being in balance in the frame opposite the waterfall, decided to crop a 2:1 pano to remove some of the sky and harsher shadows in the foreground. And camera Nikon D850 16-35 at 30 f8 64. So yeah, it's funny because that's immediately what I thought. I was like, man, that's that promo image that we use, which is actually, if you didn't know this, just taken out of the video at like 1080. It was like 1920 by 1080.
Well, the promo, so there was something Lee edited on the trip itself called like a drone in Iceland. And I believe the shot was, because again, it was snowy. The drone like flies right past you, right?
That's right. Yeah. It's so funny to think about that being the end of 2014.
Do you think we could watch that promo and like, I think we would still feel good about it, but
I like it.
You ever go back and revisit stuff and you're like, sometimes it's the image quality, or it's the first drones, or it's just you post-produce something in a way that you don't do anymore. You'll look at it in ways where like maybe for us it might be like the cameras are a little jittery, or maybe the cameras are on a tripod 100% of the time and there's no movement. There'll always be something that you find in your previous work that you're just kind of like a little cringy about.
Yeah, I think with the pandemic, I've been revisiting, not changing my old work, but going through photos to try to figure out if there was stuff that I left out and could process. And there were a lot of things that ended up being what I would consider outtakes, we call them, like when we're working with clients, or B-roll, we call them for video. And it does turn out sometimes that either my selection process wasn't as good as I thought it was back then. Where I'm like, my eye has changed. Yeah. And then, of course, your editing, your post-processing, all of that evolves. And you're always going to look back at your work and say, I could do better, but that's part of being an artist.
Yeah.
Being an artist. For Photographing the World 1, I feel like Iceland was starting to blow up, but it hadn't blown up as to the degree it was. 2014,
right. It got so popular there that they started allowing you to stay in Iceland on your connection to Europe, just to experience this island. And
people would go for winter. When we were there in winter, it wasn't as common for people to spend winter there. So I feel like we had that sort of magic of loneliness there, and we had jibs. I mean, imagine the amount of gear that we brought then. I watch it, I'm like, I'm so impressed with what we were able to do with our first try. So that will always hold a special part in my heart, like where we didn't know we were doing or getting into, well, maybe we kind of knew what we were doing, but it was so experimental.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, there's things now, if we redid it, it would be completely different. But
you were just telling me you revisited your portfolio that you shot here in Puerto Rico.
I did.
How was that experience?
Oh, man.
How old was that Lightroom catalog?
I mean, we're looking like 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. I mean, that's when I was really, I hadn't even really decided I was going to start pursuing photography. I was just taking photos of stuff that I thought looked cool and trying HDR software because that was the new thing, I mean, I could see my intention, like, wow, I had a good eye, but at that time I wasn't thinking about perfect composition or lighting or times of day. I just knew, like, I should probably shoot a sunset,
There's the Puerto Rican flag painted on a wall.
But yeah, I mean, you're going to have more from my, what would be, professional camera, we'd have more snapshots.
Yeah.
Where now it's like all my snapshots are going to be mostly on the phone, and now a lot of my daughter and stuff like that. And then less of that kind of shot.
When you go out to take a photo, it's much more intentional. you've scouted it on your own, or you found something and you're like, this is what is worth putting my time and energy into, as opposed to kind of, let me just take a whole bunch of pictures from my trip and then I'll get back home and hope that something...
Exactly. And I think now, over the last couple of years, well, let's say the few years prior to the pandemic, I was getting so specific because I was really working on such a specific body of work that I ignored a lot of times a day and different things because I'd feel like, okay, I got that and now I can move on. And now when I'm on location, since I had to take so much time off, I'm shooting a lot more. You know, like it may be, the morning may be done, but then I'm going to shoot other compositions. I'm going to try to use like the light and even shoot up midday sometimes with long exposure. So I'm trying to get myself
Shoot
back in.
Midday?
Yeah. Because when I started out, that's what I saw. Like I was so excited. I just shot. And that was part of excitement and maybe lack of experience. And also not just always shooting for clients, right? So that joy, like at some point through my career, the joy diminished because the pressure of work increased. So even before the pandemic, my plan was to kind of get back to that point of joy, and so now I'm spending a lot more time out there, just experimenting, just having fun, knowing that I might not ever share this image, I might not ever use it, but for me, it's something.
All right, well, let's move on to the next image.
We'll look at some of these.
I don't know what number we're on. I'm going to go ahead and make this full screen so everybody can...
George Emery says, I don't know about the ratings would flex based on it going into an amateur's portfolio instead of an experienced photographer's portfolio. I thought about that too. Yes, that it is kind of that situation where you could, it depends what you're critiquing for. Definitely.
I think he's specifically talking about our show, where we have tried to lay out really specific guidelines to where no matter where you are in your photographic journey, there should be some kind of like standard of what belongs in your portfolio. And I made the comment of maybe this image belongs to your portfolio if you're just getting started.
I see.
Because it's difficult. When you're just getting started, you do want to be a little lax because, one, you don't know this rating system that we've arbitrarily made up, but you don't know what your competition is. You don't know what the market is.
This is impossible. Yeah, and it's also like, what is this portfolio for? You know, and that's really what we're seeing some of the best images in the world sometimes on these critiques, right? And so it's easy to feel
and I mean,
a little
it's
bit
just
bad,
gotten so crazy in the last 5-10 years that, you know, images that used to really stand out, now suddenly you see them all the time, you know. So this image, kind of get this moving along. What is the phrase they use? It's like the little man and the big shot, or the hero man, and
I don't know, but I like the way that where you're going with this.
It's like this place a guy small in the frame of some epic scene.
Yeah, it's like a photographer that I know, Max Reeve, does that. Like he hikes to these places, and you'll probably notice his work. It's like he's just on this tiny little spire. Like, for how the heck did he climb up there? And then it's like this crazy vast environment. Yeah. There are a couple of photographers in the landscape industry that are really famous for that, and it's I don't think it might have a term, but it's more like a point of wonder, point of scale, of magnitude. It communicates something greater than yourself, or where the person is so minuscule in it, it feels like they're, you know, out of their whole environment. That's the whole thing. It feels like they're out of their element, out of their place.
Yeah.
So
I feel like if you're going to do this, at least do something like, you know, maybe like an Eddie Van Halen jump. You know, like do something to kind of make it feel like, oh, wow, the guy is doing an activity in the frame, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
it doesn't have to be that. It could be anything.
Out of all the things you could have chosen, I mean, that's kind of a random one.
Yeah, but I mean, it would be cool if somebody did that. You know, had
a
whole series around the world where it's just the little man doing like a, you know, small in the frame or large in the frame.
Yeah, I'm ready on this one.
All right, you ready? 3, 2, 1. You're gonna go 2, and I'm gonna go 4.
Yeah, and not to be mean. I feel like it's a cool location. You know, there's some issues. The golden hour. It's nice. Norway's beautiful and everything. I feel like the person here is more distracting than the environment.
I was thinking that,
getting drawn to the person rather than feeling like the person's part of it.
I keep thinking, do you just clone the person out and this image is better?
Yeah, and you know, it is nice. It is a nice image. It probably could be a 3. The reason I'm just giving it a 2 is because I'm sort of rethinking where that person is. You know, the most dangerous point of that image is that next peak up to the left. You know, so I feel like that person's in the scene, but not part of it in the way that you're intending.
But you're not advocating people put themselves in the most dangerous places to get the photograph, are you?
Well, I'm not advocating that, and certainly not do a Van Halen jump while you're there. That would be even worse.
Weren't we in Dubai when somebody fell off one of the spiral buildings or
Yeah,
something
but
crazy?
those are the crazy Russian climbers.
No, he didn't fall off. It was the video where the guy is like holding his girlfriend over the edge. Maybe they did fall off or something.
And the government rightly threw them out of the country because they have, they have those people who are doing that, people who are climbing the buildings, they have ruined rooftop photography in Dubai for us because now everything's closed down, everything's locked down.
But they got those sweet views.
I know, but
both literally and
no, I mean, you're really at that point, you're doing something for likes on Instagram. Like you're doing it not because you love doing it.
It's the TikTok these days now, man.
I'm out of touch.
And you got to get on the you got to get on the TikTok.
I don't even have a TikTok.
Or the OnlyFans, you know, you could have like you hold the girl down with the
that's
a different thing.
Oh, geez, come on.
Dude. The one arm, she's dangling off the skyscraper.
Yeah, no.
That's only for the OnlyFans.
No. So this is a cool image. I'd rework it a little bit. Maybe you shot some different angles of it, some different versions of it. There might be a stronger one. It has potential. Good concept and idea can be a little bit better if you want it to represent what we were talking about, encapsulating that feeling of, oh shit, I'm out of my element here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this environment is more epic than humanity.
I don't change my ratings often, but there's something about the top left, and I don't know if it's, each monitor displays the image a little differently.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe on YouTube it looks a little better where it's a little punchier here, but the top left is a little overexposed. I keep questioning if I would like to clone the guy out, which probably isn't something you would think about on a level 4 rated image, I really do like this location and the lighting.
It's a beautiful location, yeah.
I wonder even too if you could crop in, because I don't love some of the foreground, and that sky, I don't know, I keep looking at it and thinking, does that make you too uncomfortable as a landscape photographer to crop in that tight, or do you like having more of the horizon kind of like 20% down?
It does not make me uncomfortable at all. I think this is an image that could be cropped, you're right. Maybe if we tighten in a little bit. Yeah, even something a little bit more wide puts a little bit more interest on. It makes the subject a little less distracting and the foreground a little less distracting. Yeah, there's ways, like I said, there's ways to retool this. And again, apologies if it's not blown out in the upper left corner on normal screens. Like Patrick said, every screen. We're using TV screens here and they're all different.
It is really difficult for me to take a photo like this and to resist the urge of going even wider. Or you have a crazy sky. Let's assume the sky's real, and you have to include the sky, And I feel like I've learned from you, and like Mike does this a lot with architectural photography, is shoot at 30, maybe even shoot at 50, and because there could be there's probably amazing mountains even on the outside of this frame, and my tendency at least is to capture it all and show every bit of the landscape, but sometimes tightening it up just a little bit and really forcing your eye. Like we did that with this in Patagonia, where the Patagonian mountains are so unbelievable. This was in, not Chile, but in Argentina? Was it Kilroy or Fitzroy? Fitzroy.
Yes, on the Argentinian side.
Where the range is so incredible. Your tendency is to say, let me capture it all. But then if you zoom in really tight, that middle structure has the most extreme topography, to where you're facing this balance of, do you shoot tighter, maybe even at 100 millimeters, or do you shoot at 24 millimeters and capture the whole scene? I have a hard time committing to that.
And honestly, it's hard these days when you're carrying around typically lenses that are 12 to 24, 15 to 35. You have so many options that you kind of, it's hard to choose. I think I've actually been shooting more at 25 to 35 millimeter in the last few years than ever before, because with the Fujifilm GFX system, I have an 18 millimeter, and then the next one is a 25 to 50. So I have to choose, is this going to be a wide shot, or is this going to be not as wide? And then I have a 15 by Laowa that's super wide.
Yeah.
So that worked. Obviously, there are situations for super wide, but what I'm finding is in landscape environments too, when the background's appropriate to be a little bit larger, whether you call it compression or whatever, the difference between that stretch that you get of the wide angle makes the foreground important, stretches out the background, but even if you come into like 24 to 35 millimeter, it pulls it all back together. So it kind of, it changes the way you perceive it rather than, you know, long, and just kind of pulls it back in. So it's worth experimenting.
I like this guy who's like, the third peak, that person would be 2 pixels wide probably.
Well, then they wouldn't be distracting.
That's why they got to jump. You know, you got to get that. You got to get that separation. You got to have the walkie-talkies and be like, you didn't jump high enough. I need the water under your feet to give that separation.
Okay, so we have some other comments like, you know, without the person it becomes strong, maybe on a different peak. Little person, big world. That's a good way.
I think that's the phrase I'm looking at.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. That sounds right.
Let's go to the next image here. Now this looks like the image that was used for the first photograph in the world, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It was it's much gloomier in the winter.
Vesterhorn, yeah. I love that place. It's so cool.
It really is. I mean, when you see that reflection,
there's
it
nothing
looks
to hate
so
about that place.
fake, but it's real.
And then you can do the horse rides, like on horseback there. Sometimes you can actually, like, there's enough for people to surf and do surf shots with, like Vesterhorn and Easterhorn, like that area, I just feel like is so easy to photograph. It's fun, you know, and the sunsets, and it's such a great location. You can do the epic northern lights over the mountain. That's a cool spot. Definitely a cool spot.
While you are talking, I am trying to see if I can find... I don't know, is this going to show up?
Are we looking for the intro? Oh, there it is. Yeah, there you go.
So let me see how easily I can figure out how to...
Arguably, though, the shot that we're about to critique.
So this is the one that... I think I took this. And I can't remember if this was a screen capture out of video or if I was like, I should grab a couple photos of this too. But I remember you walking out there. And this almost reminds me of like is it the Bolivian salt flats where you get the like...
Yes.
The tiny inch of water, and then it gives this appearance. Mm-hmm. But that was the version that we tried to do.
And we had just shit weather there, but it still looked cool. And that's like that was the lead into the series. Like I walk on frame up to the tripod.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool transition into the educational element.
Well, I don't think anyone would argue that this image has a lot more dynamic range and light interest, and
yeah, it's a beautiful sunset.
There's a lot more going on than what we captured, or I captured of you shooting it. Your picture looked awesome. Mine's just kind of eerie and blue. And are you ready to rate this photograph?
Absolutely.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Solid 3.
Solid 3. Nothing wrong with it. Looks epic. I think the pose is a little bit, you know.
Yeah, let's go full screen again so people can see.
I think it's cool. I think just hands are in the pockets. You know, it's very casual. You know, like a walking kind of thing. I don't feel like that communicates a different feeling with the person being in the shot than without the shot. Like without that person, it's a solid landscape photo.
Does this rock in the foreground bother you? Does it, like, I find for me, my eye keeps going to it, and it's not really the most important part. Well, but what it does do is it breaks the illusion of it just being an image that's been mirrored down below. Mm-hmm. But I don't know still even then if I'd prefer it being there.
Well, it's different. Like that's creating a foreground element or deep foreground interest, which is cool. Yeah,
All foreground elements good though?
No, that's the thing. But again, this breaks up the composition, right? Like if you didn't have anything in the foreground, you could easily do a 50-50, right? 50 in the middle. So in landscape photography, anytime you can...
You're saying just like zooming this in and like repositioning it?
Exactly, yeah. Without that, it would make more sense to be a 50-50 split of sky and water. Then you're looking at... you're enhancing the fact that it's a perfect mirror, right? Yeah. Usually in landscape photography, you're trying not to put the horizon in the center. But in that case, with the mirrored reflection, it's kind of cool because it accentuates the fact that it's a perfect mirror. Does that make sense? But with the foreground, then you'd shift 60, 40, 70, 70, 30, whatever it is. But that sky, like, there's more to it on the top. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you can easily shift that up and shoot
I keep
both.
wondering, like, again, my mind just... It's so easy to be creative when I'm sitting here in the chair and I'm not on location. But I keep thinking, like, what else could that person do? Could that person, like, do, like, a home run slide where, like, he's sliding and the water's, like, disrupted all near him? Or or stomping, it's just somebody stomping, or you have an umbrella, again, a little prop, something else like a dog walking, like
Horses.
Horses, you gotta have the horses.
Horses, yeah. You have paste for them if they need
and
it.
it's absurd to think that like, oh, we'll just get access to horses when you got this photo, but
I'm not saying that everybody would do that. I probably wouldn't even do that unless we were specifically hired to do it. With that sunset and just the time that sunset in Iceland, if it's the winter time, it lasts forever. In the summer, it lasts. You have a lot of time to shoot in Iceland, arguably, because those time shifts change slowly.
This sunset may last how long?
It could be up to a couple hours.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so you have time to do it. So I guarantee this photographer has other shots of it too, because they were very lucky to have something that pretty. And it's a beautiful sunset. And again, like a lot of people say in the comments, or a few people did, it's solid without the person too.
Let me see if I can find some information. Part of the rules of these contests are you have to write something to be able to submit. So this was taken by Philip Slot, which was the guy who took the last photo, or 2 photos ago. I think it was the little guy on the big cliff.
Okay, so
mountain range. So cool. The shallow water, this location often makes for spectacular reflections. Spectacular reflections. He put his camera on a tripod, set the camera to interval shooting, and walked out of the frame. I assume he had to walk to the right and go all the way around. You have to. It's like when you're shooting in snowy environments, you have to be real mindful of
your own footprints.
Footprints and everything.
I've messed that up so many times. Usually because it's a sunrise and I'm not awake. And when we can see more detail in the rock now, the rock in the foreground doesn't bother me. With or without it, I think it's still cool.
Yeah, that's the one problem with like all of these different monitors.
Yeah, see, if you scroll down there, if you just scroll down, I saw another image there. See, there you go. So same photographer, same sunset.
Let me see if I can show people what we're looking at, because we are looking at something totally different.
Yeah, if you can, okay.
If you go to fstoppers.com/contests and look at this specific contest, you can see all of these images, and in the comments of this one is another photo from, is that the same mountain range?
Same mountain range, same location, just backed up a little bit. There's a little section of rocks there. And that's the classic area to do that water wash. I've done it too. Like I have a couple portfolio shots from there. So that's like the more solid landscape. You got the whole mountain super wide.
If I had to print a huge image and put it on my wall, I think I'd go for the image on the left. The one that he submitted into this contest.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I kind of like the subtle, like even maybe the sky and stuff's a little crazy, but I kind of like just the simplicity, whereas the turbulent water and spray and long exposure, it just starts, I don't know if I would want to look at that image every day, where the one on the left, I think I could.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
All right, let's keep going. We got to get this critique done because I'm sure you're itching to get out on location.
Oh, yeah.
You want to explain, without giving it all away, what in the world you're doing here?
Itching
People are
is right,
asking
man.
if
Like after standing in that seaweed.
Itching, yeah. Literally, I'm shocked my legs don't have blisters.
Oh, man, those sand fleas and I was like, those hermit crabs were crawling all over me.
I'm wearing pants outside in Puerto Rico in 100-degree weather, 95-degree weather, because my legs are getting so tore up.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we are shooting a series of tutorial videos. It's an 8-part series sponsored by Nisi Filters. They sent us the upcoming, or by the time this is released, who knows, what is coming out by Nisi that I probably can't talk about, and some classic filters, new systems.
So it's kind of like Photographing the World Puerto Rico, but it's going to be all free on our YouTube channel.
Exactly. It's, I wouldn't say it's as long. It basically, the idea is we want to learn how to use neutral density filters to create long exposure effects in photography. So that's
There's also some other filters I've never even heard about that we're about to
go
out and do in the next few nights or days. So
yep. There's some. It's going to be what we're going to release it over time. It's going to be free. It's going to be 8-part, and it's going to be pretty cool, I think.
So we have to finish that project up, which means we have to get
Literally
out of
right
here
after
soon.
This, we're going to go climb down this really treacherous rock face thing.
Yeah,
I've been saving that up.
So hopefully we'll get some good footage of you doing that.
Yeah, we'll send Patrick down first.
All right, here's the next image. I think we just have a few more images left. I do not. I'm going to make this full screen because I have no idea what we're even looking at. Oh, okay. It almost looked like a jet. I thought this was like a F-15 or something. Small. It looked kind of like
yeah, I need to see this
something high in the atmosphere.
Full screen too.
This is Midhat Chowdhury, butchered that name again, a small boat carrying fishermen and his son in the evening stroll at a nearby lake in Sylhet, Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, yeah. Yeah, that's.
Oh, so it's like a fishing boat.
Yeah.
It almost looks like logs or debris or something like a shipwreck out in the middle of an ocean. So
yeah,
I can zoom in even
it's
more.
actually let's zoom in and take a look. But it's pretty. I'm ready.
That's pretty wild.
You ready? We were just talking about simplicity, Patrick.
We were. Let's see if we can get this all back here. All right,
And
you ready?
my hands are low and yeah, got it.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah,
I'm between a 3 and a 4.
Yeah.
I could easily throw. I was thinking 3, but
it's balanced, and that's what I like about it. It's very, very balanced, right? Like the boat wake, it's not in the center. And what I love about this image is the other little boat to the upper right. That breaks the tranquility of this single one. That makes it into, in my opinion, like for a simplistic minimalist shot, a great composition.
the more I look at this, like I just said, I could give it a 3, but I gave it a 4. This really is, to me, this is, the more I look at this, the more I like it. But then as the photographer in me is wondering, like, man, did the vignette at the bottom look like that? And these clouds are almost, the clouds almost look like something you would see when you're in flight, like the perspective or how low they are on the horizon.
Well, it can
but then they also have a nice
blending mode.
reflection down there that you can see. Make
Well,
this full screen again.
that could have been put in like just a two-sided gradient, a
But
gradation
this is-
from top to bottom. It could be enhanced, and you could tell it's vignetted on the top and the bottom to enhance it. It's a good edit. Forecast says Aurora Borealis up north in Norway tonight. Just FYI. Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah.
I'm currently in Puerto Rico.
You can change your flight.
We have
Head up
the,
there.
We have the Aurora crab spider. Land crab.
Dude, we have some gnarly spiders and
Why
stuff
aren't
here.
we putting land crabs in the foreground of our stuff?
Oh, well, the actual crabs.
The
We went out to
big
dinner,
ass
and there was a
crabs.
crab that about ran over someone's foot. And
Yeah, the giant land crab.
I was thinking the spider that looks, it's like almost a crab that's in the caves.
Oh yeah, no, let's forget about
Those
that.
things are,
Nope,
like,
nope,
horrifying.
Nope, nope, nope. You lost me.
What I'm really jealous of is Mike Kelly just got back from Iceland with this crazy eruption at one of the volcanoes.
Yeah.
Do you know? I don't even know what part of the island that is or anything about it, but
Oh yeah, it's been going on for a while.
it looks so cool. Like
yeah,
I've
heard
always.
that, the Hilton Hotel was going to buy it and put up a thing. I'm just kidding. Now, it's really cool, and you can visit. There's a lot of safety protocols. Obviously, like if there's certain gases from these things, you can die.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if it's safe, you can go and kind of just camp out.
I
with it
think
right
he
next
was
to
like
it.
a mile away from it, but he could still, with the naked eye or even the phone just zooming in, you could see it spewing, and then the lava was coming down by his feet.
You can hire a fixed wing plane and helicopter.
Have you been close to like actual live lava?
No, not really.
That's like a bucket list thing for me. I think
Distance. Yeah, me too.
it doesn't seem that difficult to accomplish that, but I just haven't yet done that.
Yeah, I almost went to see this one, but I decided to hold off.
All
So
right,
this is a good photo. We'll land on for minimalism. This is great. This is a really pretty photo. I think that to kind of go a little bit further on Patrick's point about simplicity and wall art, this feels nice, right?
I love
it's
this,
not
yeah.
It's very serene, very turbulent. I can't. I did a 3. He did a 4. It's deserving of a 3 and a 4. It's right there.
Yeah. People are wondering if Lee's not in this critique because he caught COVID, and he didn't take the horse paste that I have here. But I have to say, I guess you'll have to wait and see what happened to Lee.
Yeah.
And why Lee's not here right now.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's true.
let's keep moving on. We gotta go. Let's go full screen.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Can we see that full screen real quick?
On our screen?
Yeah, just really quick. I'm digging the lightning strike.
Really quick for me is not really quick, but I can try to pull this.
Well, at some point
This
in the future.
touchpad that I have to use here, it's not as responsive.
Oh, that's very, very, very cool.
The last time I worked with you, we went down to your town, Melbourne Beach, and we did a lesson for the the well-rounded photographer,
That's right.
which is the newest tutorial we've released in the F-Stopper store. You have a quick lesson in there on shooting landscapes, but the shot that you shot with us on location, you had been shooting all summer, and you had some lightning strikes like this, which this image, just because that's top of mind, reminds me of some of those crazy images that you took right there in Florida.
Yeah, I think that. Well, let's go ahead and. Yeah, because it's going to be interesting for me for this, just because I can tell it's a composite. You ready?
All right, 3, 2, 1. Between a 2 and a 3. It's nice.
It's a solid concept, and it's definitely a composite, but it's still very cool, you know. And I think that's
what
where
makes you say that. Like, how do you know for certain that this is a composite? Is there something that's just jumping out?
just
or
that reflection of the lightning was the first thing that caught my eye.
it doesn't look natural, or
No, it doesn't look natural.
it wouldn't go that far down the water.
It's
or
just so weird when you see it in person, when you actually capture it. It just feels too soft and artificial.
So are you suggesting that the highlight in the water has been like created, or that they just took a frame, they got this perfect shot, and then they took the one frame that had the lightning that might not have been as interesting, and they brushed it in? Like, you think that reflection is not real, or it just doesn't belong
That's actually a good question. Like, look at we really have to examine it. No, let's see, the sky reflection in the beach itself looks pretty on par with the shot.
Gosh, let's see if I can get to it.
I think it's a pretty solid composite. I could tell it's a composite, but
I
it doesn't
love
mean it's a
this
bad
reflection.
image.
I don't know what's going on there with
Yeah,
these,
it's
like,
pretty.
It almost looks like brush strokes or something, but
that's even just God, that's what we're teaching right now. Like
long
just
exposure?
well, yeah, but even like a fifth of a second, a quarter of a
But the
second.
beach itself, well, because it's interesting. It looks like a very, well, here's what's, okay, now I've realized. The easiest way to do a lightning shot is to either have some crazy device that can just take the image when it senses a disruption in sound or probably light, but is to take a long exposure that's underexposed that allows you to do a 5 second, 10 second, 3 minute exposure, and then when the lightning hits, you've captured it. But this shot would appear that with the surf, that it is a very quick exposure, which means you would have had to have taken this image the exact moment that the lightning hit.
For it to be real, yes.
For it to be real.
Absolutely.
And I guess, like I said, there are devices that might be able to help you do that, but
there are triggers that exist that are supposed to capture lightning.
I've never used one of those. Those are one of those pieces of gear that I have always wanted to buy and play around with.
Yeah, but I mean, with this image, like I think it's pretty cool. I think it has potential. I think it's fairly well executed. The shadowing of the person to me looks, again, just a little off, even if that's real.
That's a crazy long shadow.
Yeah, I know, and it doesn't really break up with the water, the shape of the water.
It's weird that, man, the more I look at this, so look at the shadows on the bottom of the foam.
Mm-hmm.
They're very short and very pronounced, and this is taken with what would seem like a very fast shutter speed.
Yes.
But then the shadow on the person is like super long. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's kind of sharp. It's kind of hard to tell. I'll make this full screen again.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's a lot of like weird photographic things that are going on in here that maybe the average person wouldn't look at and think twice.
It also depends on how long you look at it. You know what I mean? You keep looking at it, you're going to start noticing
Well,
things.
I also kind of feel like the whole left of the frame has this nice highlight quality in the water, and then the whole right of the frame, I almost feel like I see like the feathering end where the person appears to be shot after the sun went down or in like an overcast environment, yet they still have a shadow. There's no specular light at all in the surf of the water on the right-hand side of the frame. Mm-hmm. And then right about where the lightning hits, the water changes quality and suddenly becomes very specular and has nice highlights.
Well, let's see. So Miguel says this image is a composite done in Photoshop. The sky, the lightning, the person on the frame, the shadows, the sunset, all done in Photoshop. Then I use Lightroom for some small adjustments. So we're seeing a lot of things put together here. So based on that, we decided that these are elements put together. And it's done fairly well. But the more we look at it, the more we can definitely tell that.
As always, I know your position on this. Your position is exactly the same as Lee and I. We have no problem with Photoshop. We have no problem with compositing. We have no problem like if the image is solid and looks great. The question is could you just do the compositing a little bit better? Does this pull you away, even for the untrained eye? is there like a sense of something's not right, something's not sitting right with me, that like diminishes the image because you feel like it could? Your goal is always to make things look seamless to where you would never know that any real manipulation has happened.
Yeah.
This one is, I'm starting to think like, oh, the right side of the frame and like something feels off even if I don't know.
And that's the whole argument with it, and especially having worked on the sky replacement tool, Sky AI for Luminar for a while, for a couple of years. That argument of, oh, you know, if we can just composite it, what's the reason of even taking a photo? But I think a lot of the people who say that don't understand how hard it is to actually make a composite. Like, just because you can put all these elements together doesn't mean it's going to fit.
Right.
And so it does take a little bit of skill, timing, and artistic license to do it. And I think these days, just with what we can do in camera, I mean, we're blurring the lines between fantasy and reality all the time, even in the location. You know what I mean? That these days, as long as it looks good and it communicates the result, it's fine. And I think most people now, if I'm not mistaken, or I jumped the shark here, most people just want people to say what it is. Like if you on there, and he did, you know, this is a composite. I think people mostly get mad when you pass work off as real that's actually.
Well, there's a lot of famous photographers who don't want to even like talk about it. They're not like lying and saying it's real, but there's also some photographers who the group and people around them will make you believe that, oh, this isn't photoshopped.
Well, when we released it was 2 releases or 3 releases ago, the version of Sky AI, the updated version of Sky AI, and I did a bunch of demo art and all these sky replacements. Like I had these epic conversations or battles on social media, people like saying, I'm never following you again, I can't trust any of your work. And I'm like, I'm helping build this tool, this AI technology, and you don't have to use it. I think it was just, I was really surprised how people get so offended by this, but there was never one time where I'm like, this is real. You know, and so to say like I gotta question all your work. Anybody who's seen my work, it's like I'm blending time together, right?
Right.
But suddenly, you just went too far. You know, like I was so blown away.
Your
by
sky's not real, but also the amount of detail and highlights in the frame with the city lights on.
I know.
Well, that part obviously isn't real either, but it's the sky that bothers them.
We all draw the line somewhere, but these days, if you're happy, that's what it's about. It's art, you know, and really, it's especially now that we've all had to take breaks or reassess things. It's really something that you have to enjoy, you know. And I don't want to steal somebody's joy out of that, like. And I've seen some amazing composite images, and I've seen some bad ones, and I've seen some amazing straight out of camera ones, and some bad ones. Like, just because everybody can do it doesn't mean it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
It's not going to ruin a genre. You know, it's just going to expand it and give us more options. So I'm definitely happy to see composites.
Let's move on.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
This is, I feel like this is one of the first images where the person is very predominant. Kind of more like the Red Riding Hood image with the trees, if I can call it that.
Okay, I'm ready.
You're ready already. Sit back, Elia. I know you get eager. You get
I'm looking at the image. Like I'm having to, and you guys.
Yeah, normally I'd give you the
lights.
iPad.
No, we
but
have, look,
it's
see these
about
shadows?
to die.
You usually don't shine bright lights in your face when you're trying to look at details of things.
It's extremely bright in here, and this would be the opposite viewing environment if you wanted to look at a calibrated screen and everything. But that's the nature of a live set.
Yeah, let's do this one. I know.
All right, ready? Mm-hmm. 3, 2, 1. You went 2.
Yep. I've seen a lot of these. I think that it's a little overprocessed. It's that it's too crunchy in the middle. And when I say crunchy, when you start adding super contrast, or any kind of like contrast or detail enhancement, when there's a soft depth of field, it kind of ruins the bouquet around it. So you can kind of see that in the edges, where I feel like since this had a shallow depth of field, we should see that a little bit more fuzzy in the foreground. Positioning perfect, great position in the southern France. Good focal length to be able to make the mountain sort of a little bit more interesting, but it needs something else. I see this so much that it looks a little bland to me. A little too bland to me. And something too, I know you gave it a higher rating, and it's hard to unsee so many of the same thing. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that this artist didn't do something a little bit different, but it's nothing new that we haven't seen, especially
Yeah.
like it kind of is a throwback to the hat, the arms, the arms back, and the white dress. It feels very Instagram, right?
I feel like what I don't like about this is the location is so widely viewed by anyone who's on Instagram or looks at photos on a regular basis. Unlike you, I really like this post-processing. I like this punchy, kind of blown out whites, and I feel like the sky could have been way crazier, but it's got this kind of pastel softness to it. Now that I'm looking at it a little bit more, my eyes kind of going like, I don't know if this part of the world has like a fog on the horizon, but when I start to look at the trees in the background, it kind of feels like the mountains are a little soft. There's something weird happening on the horizon that I don't know if I love, or maybe I do like it.
Look at the blacks around the top of her arms near the shirt.
Yeah.
You know, and the horizon. Yeah, that's where it's crushed a little bit.
You're saying it's like crushed like right below, but then it gets soft on the
too
left
much
and right.
texture and detail enhancement.
That's a good eye there. Yeah, I do see that now. There's something about like the way these. What is this flower?
It's
lavender. Okay. The way that
it's lavande. I'm going to screw that up.
I'm not going to say that, but the way that the flowers like kind of come in at this weird angle.
They're in rows.
I understand that, but like,
rows.
I guess like you're looking down one row, and then the peak of the row is on the edges of the frames.
Yep.
It just looks a little strange.
Well, and I've been there. It's years before. I mean, not many years, but years before it blew up, when there weren't any people there. And the first comment, they're not sure if it's true, but I've heard that photographers and other Instagrammers are destroying the crops. Yes, you know,
the farmers are pissed.
Well, yeah, in some cases, yeah, because people are tramping all over it. You know, you have to be respectful. Same thing, in Moments in Time, we did an episode with Albert Dross, and one of the largest tulip growers in Holland, and they talked about how they may have to close the fields eventually.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because people are like picking the flowers, stomping on the flowers, and all of these things, like these beautiful tulips. And the idea is like, we want people to visit this, we care about this, but if people keep trampling all over these things, that we don't have any choice but to close them off.
What do they do in these situations? Like, this is private land, I assume. I don't know every country's rules, but
some of it
are
is,
you allowed to just walk through this, or could they put up barriers, or these people are just already jumping over the barriers?
My experience is there aren't really any barriers for most of this. I think that it's farm-owned. Correct, I don't know if this is true in France. A lot of the stuff in Italy, in Tuscany, everything is like, they do own technically the trees and stuff in the vineyard, but the land is owned by the commune, or the region. So there are some gray area there. So I'm pretty sure you are allowed to do this, but if you start destroying things, then it becomes more of a question of respect.
Yeah.
In Ireland, for example, like if somebody owns a house on this, like say like we were looking at that other thing in Norway, if somebody owned a house there, they own the land all the way up to the shore. So if it's there, like fenced in, they own it. It's private property. It's not like Scotland where there you can camp anywhere. You have a right of camping. So every country's a little bit different. But this is one of those debates that we've had over the last few years that comes down to respecting an environment, and not being that guy or that Instagrammer that's like trampling over all this stuff, or like disturbing. Because a lot of the bees there, they have beehives. There are bees in there trying to pollinate, and you know what I mean. Like it's an ecosystem.
Yeah.
And you want to be respectful.
Well, Stefan Thomas took this. I really like this image.
Yeah, not to go on a tangent, but that was a good, it is a point about those beautiful places that we see all the time, and being a responsible...
I always say this a lot. I like to take an image and make it small and see if it would stand out among a sea of images, which is kind of what we have here in the studio. But imagine this image was in an Instagram feed. Like, I feel like even if this is kind of a cliche location that we've all seen, and maybe a lot of people are taking girls and putting them in the fields, whatever, I still feel like that image stands out quite a bit.
Well, it's
pops,
beautiful.
and I like
everybody
it, even all those things being said.
Yeah, lavender's beautiful. I mean, I think we're always going to appreciate images of it. It's so pretty.
What do they do with it? Is this going to florists, or do they make an oil out of this?
Yeah, a lot of it gets farmed. I bought a lot of lavender oil from smaller farms when I was there. I used it all up. It works as a tincture for a lot of things, for burns and injuries. I use a lavender-based soap. There are a lot of medicinal properties to it, and
That's
also
why
as a fragrance.
You smell so good right now? Did you bring the lavender down here to Puerto Rico?
I haven't showered in 2 days.
Or is that seagrass?
That's definitely seagrass right now.
All right, let's move along. I don't know how many more images I think we have just one or two.
I'm pretty sure it works better than your horse paste.
My horse paste smells pretty good, and it gets rid of my rosacea. My face is looking pretty good today. But I also got a lot of sun yesterday, so.
We did.
Let's go full screen on this because this is getting hard to see. This is also running really long. I don't know what we're looking at here.
I can't. This is tough. It's really dark. I'm sorry. Yeah, we have to. I'm gonna lean forward too because we're not.
They definitely styled this.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Portrait.
It's a guy with a suitcase.
Was it a female? I don't know who that
is. It's a figure with a suitcase. I can't tell. Too dark. In an umbrella. Okay.
You are ready. Let's rate this. 3, 2, 1.
I just can't get into it. I feel like I'm drawn right to the figure.
I hate giving an image that looks.
It's cool.
Like
it's such a cool concept.
The concept's cool. You can tell a photographer took this. There's a lot going on. I feel like, for me, just a little more post-production to where you pull up some of the details to where this really reads a little bit better.
Yeah.
Probably makes it, for me, a pretty solid 3.
Scroll down on our bottom screen here because we can actually see it a little lower with some different contrast. Yeah, see, so this is a little easier to see than what we're seeing picture in picture for us.
Keep in mind that this monitor that we're viewing it on has more contrast, and in some cases, I thought things were blown out that up here are not.
Right.
And then, of course, the iPad looks even different.
I know. We're living in a world of screen variation.
I usually like the image shown on our monitor here because it is crunchier. And in this case, I think it does look a little bit better, but I don't think this is representative of what...
No, and it's a composite too, so it can be easily reworked, right? Like it's easy to go in and, well, not, I wouldn't say easy, but you already have the masks, so you can adjust it. So a cool concept. The execution could be a little bit more solid. I think what Patrick said last time, scale it down really small and still see if it really kind of comes through as a person there, or you're just not sure. You know what I mean? Like if you were looking at this
do you want
as a smaller image.
More highlights on the left, or do you like this gradient of like black to then suddenly
That's a good question. See to the left of the figure, see those highlights that are kind of falling off fast? There's no reason why those highlights can't fall off at a lesser degree. You know what I mean? Like they can go further through the frame, and then the vignetting can be more like of a selective dodge and burn vignetting on the side. Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of like you want that person to be dark, but you need to contrast them, and where they're standing is right over a dark spot of the sky, where if they were over a lighter spot of the sky, like if you move that sky a little to the right, they'd be over the light part, and then you'd see them a little bit more. It just needs a little bit of work, but it's a cool concept.
Yeah. Ivan says, we need better viewing monitors. I mean, we have 3 different televisions here, plus an iPad, and I can also see what it's showing up on YouTube. And so, I mean, we have like 4 different ways to view this. Every one of them looks different. And there was a point when I gave up on the whole color calibration monitor thing, and I just got to the point where I was like, the majority of people look at these on an iPhone or an iPad, and I kind of always want my images to look good on that. I know that's like the cardinal sin of, color calibration.
Well, and I know but going back to that, I can get an idea of it. I'm not critiquing perfect color or anything or balance. We can kind of see it. And then here we go. Look, so Brendan says Norway, we have the right to roam. A lot of countries have this, which means you can just camp anywhere you want.
The Outdoor Recreation Act. So if I don't know their laws on land ownerships, but here in America, if you own the property, you have the right to say you can't step on my property.
And it's amazing. I have so many friends in Norway, and I was saying Scotland because I know my friends are always camping. But you can just, so that's the kind of situation where you can.
What does roam mean though? Can I pitch a tent and stay overnight?
Yes, you can.
That seems a little more than roaming, right?
Well, it just means that you're not limited to certain areas. Like in Ireland, it's like you have to be in a campsite. You can't just I'm pretty sure you can, but I think you get ticketed for it in certain situations.
Okay.
Like you get ticketed for throwing a tent down somewhere you're not supposed to. Where if you're just in Norway in the nature, you can do that. You can just pitch a tent. You can sleep there.
Doesn't New Zealand have a crazy law where you can't garden?
I don't know. Now we're getting into semantics, but
I don't know. It's just interesting to see what laws exist in other countries.
It's also interesting because it's really country to country. So the right to roam. Thank you for that term, by the way. I was looking for that term.
All right, let's move on. Let me see. This may be our last image. So this is the final photograph, and this person will also win a free tutorial. Head over to fstoppers.com/store. You can pick out a free tutorial. Also, make sure you message Lee Morris on Fstoppers. He's the one that controls all of the...
Oh, and be sure to ask him why he's not here today.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope he's doing okay. He's probably just getting well rested for the big filming he's about to do with you.
Oh, for sure.
So Marcel...
All those sunrises he was
Strelo. This is this the what's the phrase I always use?
Sachete Pass.
The southern Alps.
These are the Southern Alps. Yeah, these are the Dolomites. This is Sachete, and the Dolomites in Italy.
That like tabletop green thing there is so iconic. Like I feel like
Sachete is cool. I've been there. I only had one day there. It was years and years ago. It's pretty epic, man.
Now this image followed maybe a suggestion you had before where let's put the guy really far.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't even notice there was a person.
And has he got a wingsuit on? What is going on there? It's like
a wingsuit.
He's a triangular shape. Can't tell what's going on with the person there. He's about to jump.
All right, ready.
You're ready. All right, let me get back to where people can see our voting.
Please, I'm gonna get off.
All right, 3, 2, 1. You're going 2, I'm going 3.
Yeah, I think that removing the person, and remember we have to consider that you're supposed to have the person in there. So it just doesn't, to me it doesn't, I don't notice. I think without the person you got a lot going on already, right? You got that light flare, the sun hitting the mountains there, some blue in the sky, which I like that there's some blue added to the top there in the clouds. Lots of highlights in the foreground, middle ground, backgrounds, but that person just doesn't communicate a sense of scale to me. I feel like this is already massive without that person.
This is the final image, and I don't know if we've really even talked about this. I don't know with this critique, like our critiques are always, does the image belong in your portfolio? But then we put these crazy parameters like a person in a scenic shot.
No,
and so I don't know if we should be critiquing it because the person's not prevalent enough, or we should be critiquing it based on the person.
How can you tell somebody what to put in their portfolio if you haven't seen their other images that they have?
Well, that's what's difficult with something that's kind of more like a theme. If it's a food photography or landscape photography, you're like, okay, does this belong in a landscape portfolio or does this belong in a headshot portfolio? That's easy.
I see what you're saying.
If you say like today's theme is moody, it's like, well,
fair enough.
Does this belong in a landscape portfolio because it's not moody enough? I don't know.
If this was just a landscape photo, I could say, yeah, it could be up to a 3. If this is one of the strongest shots that you have from that trip, then it's cool. We know this location. A lot of photographers know this location, but anybody who's not as familiar with this location is going to love it too. So it has that wow factor built in. It's kind of like the lavender has that emotional thing. It reminds you of my scent, apparently.
Now it does. Now it does.
It's gonna be,
every time I see those fields, I'm going to be like that time Elia Carty sat in our studio in Puerto Rico.
So experiencing sunrise on Out Sachete, South Tyrol is such a humbling experience. Harsh, deep cliff, the side rolling meadows, the other side, Forqueta and Sas Rigaus. Okay, yeah.
He doesn't tell us though about the person. Is that somebody he knows?
Taken with 21mm to get the foreground as well as the little hiker in the meadow. It's just a hiker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty good. Again, doesn't really work with this genre as well as it could have. But overall, there's some nice images this time.
I'm curious how the person was the person what?
Do you need
is the person like part of his photo shoot or the person just happened to be there?
Just happened to be there.
And then sense of scale,
it's that, you know what?
It kind of makes me feel like that slope is a lot smaller because the person.
No, it's not a lot. It's actually a lot further away than you think.
Really?
I gotta send you some of the drone footage. I flew over the whole, tried to fly over the whole thing.
I'm trying to base scale on this. If that guy is 2 or 3 feet wide in his stance, it just kind of feels like maybe that's 100 feet. Is that the length of a football field or smaller?
It's hard to say.
Because if I didn't see the person there, I would think that slope is like a mile. It looks so huge. But having that person there is kind of throwing me off now. Because I'm trying to figure out sense of scale in a scene that I've never...
Well, Patrick, since every tutorial you ask if we're going to the Dolomites and you feel like they're everywhere, we should probably just get it out of the way and go to the Dolomites sometime.
I'm happy to go to the Dolomites. I think that would be...
It's pretty.
Really exciting. Well, I have to wrap up this show. Let's see how well I can do that. If you want to check out your tutorials, head over to fstoppers.com/store. We have 4 of them now. You can pretty much explore any part of the world. We also have these cool videos coming out pretty soon. We're still filming them, obviously, but I think
the
first one will be out next month.
Yeah,
I think.
mid-September should be about.
So head over to the original F-Stoppers channel to see that. This is the live channel. What do you have to promote these days? You're kind of being a dad, but do you have anything coming up that...
Nothing that I can talk about, but some more big developmental projects like in different parts of the world. So, you know, a lot of cool things, but I'm kind of at a point in these last couple of months where I have a little less going on, and I'm actually been creating artwork and thinking about releasing a series of NFTs and all sorts of random things. And yeah, being a dad.
NFTs, all right. Well, that's a conversation for maybe another episode of something.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I can't share any of that yet. It's highly conceptual, and it ties into a lot of different things that are going on too in the world. So maybe you'll see that, maybe you won't. You'll definitely see these Nisi tutorials though, middle September.
Cool. Well, that is it. Head over to fstoppers.com/contest to enter the next contest, and then we will see you guys soon. Let me see if I can play us out of here without completely getting everyone wasted because I screwed it all up.
Yeah, let's see.
Let's see. We will see you guys very, very soon.
Take care.
It didn't cut out.
I still see us.
All right. Well, we're going to have to end it on that note.
Well done. Well done. Did you say something you were supposed to?
No. Oh, I ended it. Oh. Why did that transition not work?
Why does it say on air there? 131, 52, 53?